Here's Brody Brazil.
So I'm going to play you this clip of Justin Verlander speaking to reporters after a minor league rehab start this past weekend. And the question came up about the epidemic, let's call it, of pitcher arm and elbow injuries recently in Major League Baseball. Some have been tying it to the pitch timer and how that's been instituted, and even the time has been decreased. But also it's an overall trend that we've seen coming now for years and really decades. And Verlander, at age 40, has endured all of it successfully. I know he's on a rehab start right now, but his career has not been eliminated because of injury. So how has he done it, and what is his perspective? And by the way, I think as much as somebody like I could talk about elbow and arm injuries and what I see and what former players might hear and see and understand, I truly think it's best to have somebody right now who's established and a veteran in this game, who's been understanding it for the last couple of years and decades, to really give us their expert take. So here's the question, and here's what Verlander said, almost 4 minutes of a response.
Justin, what are your thoughts on just the last couple of days? We've seen a bunch of pitchers go down with injuries, and there's been blame on both sides. What do you think?
I don't know, man. It's tough. I think the game has changed a lot. I think it'd be easiest to sit here and blame the pitch clock. I think in reality, you put everything together, and everything has a little bit of influence.
And that's a great perspective. I will be, by the way, stopping and starting this video a few times to understand that it may be a combination of everything instead of just one thing. Maybe there's a primary reason. It's velocity or spin, but then it's now the pitch timer added on to that, the lack of recovery time. I appreciate his forethought on that.
I think the biggest thing is the style of pitching has changed so much. Everybody's throwing as hard as they possibly can and spinning the ball as hard as they possibly can. And, it's hard to deny those results, obviously.
And that is a truth, right? If you're a pitcher and you're getting results in performance based on throwing the ball hard or getting it to spin that much or constantly using breaking pitches or trying to strike everybody out instead of pitching to contact, if you're getting some results, what do you think you're going to do? And what do you think you're going to be encouraged to do by your team and your coaching staff?
How can you? It's a double-edged sword. How can you tell somebody to go out there and not do that when they're capable of throwing 100? And this young guy comes up and throws a pitch 95 and gives up a big homer, and everybody's like, "What the hell, man?"
It's almost like just because one night you had 4 drinks doesn't mean you should have 4 drinks every single time you enjoy.
So something needs to change. I don't have all the answers. I know pitching, and I've been, I don't want to beat a dead horse here. It is what it is. I think the data's out there at this point. But when the balls started to change back in 2016 and they started flying out a bit more frequently.
That's another part of this conversation, right? Remember in the mid-2010s, and to me, what I noticed is less about the inner workings of the baseball, although pitchers did feel like the yarn was spun a bit tighter. It was a more hitter-friendly baseball than it used to be before. But I noticed that the actual seams on the baseball, they used to have a little bit of depth, a little bit of traction. So if you really wanted to grip it and snap off a curveball, you could really get your fingertips on those seams and get a little extra grip. It seemed like those seams got a lot flatter on the baseball. And then it was hard to grip the baseball. And then obviously a couple years later, we get into the 2020s, and the umpires are checking the pitcher's hands and gloves for substances. You can't use any foreign substances. So now all of a sudden, pitchers can't grip the baseball. The seams are lower, to Verlander's point, and you can't use the sticky stuff. And now we've arrived here.
I know myself personally, that started changing how I had to approach pitching. You have to start swinging. You have to start approaching the batter as I want swing and miss. I can't have him put the ball in play where the old adage, pitch down, pitch away from the guy, hit your spot, get weak contact.
Pitch to contact, right?
Early in the count, and then you can kind of go up, and that kind of went out the window when everybody started being able to leave the yard, especially opposite field.
Hitters got better, right? So you can't maybe pitch to contact because contact is going to screw you up in the baseball game. But I still think, right, if you're trying to go complete games, if you're trying to get more out of your starting rotation and you want to go 8 innings and you only want to throw 90-something pitches, if the pitch count is going to limit you, then how does the starter go 8 innings? You got to make your defense work. You got to make the ball be put in play to where your defense can take care of it.
And look, like I said, I'm not here to I've said my piece on that before in the past, and it is what it is. As long as we're all out here competing on an even playing field, that's what I care about, and we all have the same baseball in our hands, so that's that. But I do think that you throw that in the mix, and you throw analytics in the mix, and you throw the pitch clock in the mix, and it all kind of, all kind of adds up, and it's unfortunate. I don't know how we rewind the clock. Maybe.
By the way, he's still going in his answer here. This is one answer to one question. He's going to go like 4 minutes total on his response. I also like at this point how you can see his brain thinking like he is actually wanting to talk more about this. He's glad this was brought up, and I'm glad that he's talking so elegantly about it.
There's some sort of way to incentivize starting pitching, going deeper in games. I remember I talked to Scherzer at length last year with the Mets, and we talked about having the starting pitcher be tied to a DH, and having you have to achieve certain milestones before. If the pitcher comes out and he hasn't achieved any of those milestones, you lose your DH. So at least the team is incentivized to teach their pitchers to go through the lineup 3 times.
So if your starter, like let's say, sorry, Justin, I didn't mean to get you on a bad freeze frame there. If your starter doesn't go 5, you lose your DH for the rest of the game. Now, I don't know how that would go. Do you replace somebody in the order? Does your pitcher couldn't necessarily hop in there, especially that would make things messy. Well, in the American League or National League at this point, but interesting though. You lose your DH if your starter doesn't go a distance.
Whereas right now, nobody's incentivized to do that. No teams are incentivized to tell their pitcher, okay, let's go through the lineup 3 times. Let's navigate a lineup. Those aren't conversations that are had anymore. Nobody's fault. It's just the nature of the game where it's at right now. But if that mind shift switches and teams start incentivizing, okay, how do we get guys out 3 times? Because right now, 3rd time through the lineup, they're looking for an excuse to take you out. Because analytically, it says that batters have more success.
It's going to happen.
So I can't sit here and blame anybody. But the second that you start incentivizing pitchers staying in the game longer, throwing 110 pitches, throwing 100 pitches, navigating the lineup, then the trickle down permeates all the way to Little League baseball. Everybody's trying to get to this level. So
that's another great point. Sorry to cut him off. Like, this isn't just a major league problem. This is starting in college, and before that, it's starting in high school, and Babe Ruth, and Little League. This one goes all the way down the chain, and they've got to reverse it, not just for big leaguers, they've got to reverse it for kids right now.
You want to go play D1, now you got to throw hard and you got to spin the ball well. You want to go to the minor leagues, you got to throw hard, spin the ball well. And, it all starts from here down. The second that you start incentivizing pitching and guys are getting drafted because they can pitch and get guys out, then that goes down a level, and then down a level and down a level. And, I just hope that we don't wait too long, because it's obviously a pandemic, and it's going to take years to work itself out, because everybody right now, Little League on, go look no further than Instagram. I can't look at my Instagram feed without seeing, some kids trying to learn how to throw as hard as they can at 10 years old. I sure as hell didn't do that. I didn't figure it out until college. I matured into my body. I was, I say it all the time. If I came up in today's world, I don't know what would happen.
Sorry. But it's also a point too that your elbow and your ligaments, they don't fully mature, kind of like a human's brain doesn't, until about 25 or 26 years old. And by 25 or 26, you're spinning curveballs in Major League Baseball, and you've probably been doing it already for a decade.
Mechanics were a little different. I was tall, lanky, lean, skinny, lean, weird, kind of hadn't hit my maturity. Went to college, didn't get drafted, went to college, and kind of grew into myself, and all of a sudden started throwing hard. But it wasn't because I did some, program to make me throw harder. So it's hard. Hard question.
Wow. That was the end of a 4-minute answer, by the way. And look, Justin Verlander, a competitor. He's been doing this a long time. He's got the longevity. He's come back. He's had amazing success over the years and decades. Fully respect what he's done, and I really respect his approach to that. I love the fact that pitchers are talking about this. I love the fact that people are talking about this. But at some point, we've got to get past just talking about it. There needs to be action. Baseball, and I'm not just talking about Major League Baseball, the baseball community needs to actually do something to remedy this problem. Otherwise, we're just going to keep looking at it year after year and saying, well, that's a shame. Oh, that's too bad. We have complete control over this. This is not out of human control. You made it here to the end of the video. I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll help me and this channel and this video. And by the way, if you've never seen me before, that's awesome. I'm glad you found me. Welcome to the channel. Do me a quick favor. Go down and hit that subscribe button, because I would love to see you back here next time.